Hello everybody, this is the 38th lecture for IELTS with Mr. Haidar Qasir. Today we are answering Book 15, Academic, the second test, test number 2, the second passage number 2. Says, should we try to bring extinct species back to life? We are having those questions. Of course, we are not going to answer the questions raw, because we are going to answer 14, 15, 16, 17, then 20, 23, 24, 25, 26. After that, we'll go back to questions from 18 to 22. Okay, questions 14 to 17 say, reading passage 2 has 6 paragraphs A to F. Which paragraph contains the following information? Write the correct letter A to F in boxes 14 to 15 on your answer sheet. Nota bene, this is really important, and B, you may use any letter more than once. 14. A reference to how further disappearance of multiple species could be avoided. 15. Explanation of a way of reproducing an extinct animal using the DNA of only that species. 16. Reference to a habitat which has suffered following the extinction of a species. 17. Mention of the exact point of which a particular species became extinct. Then, questions 23 to 26. Look at the following statements, questions 23 to 26, and the list of people below. Match each statement with the correct person, A, B, or C. Write the correct letter A, B, or C in boxes 23 to 26 on your answer sheet. Nota bene, another nota bene, and B, you may use any letter more than once. Okay, 23. Reintroducing an extinct species to its original habitat could improve the health of a particular species living there. 24. It's important to concentrate on the causes of an animal's extinction. 25. A species brought back from extinction could have an important beneficial impact on the vegetation of its habitat. 26. Our current efforts of preserving biodiversity are insufficient. Okay, let's start. We are having here A. The passenger pigeon was a legendary species flying in vast numbers across North America, with potentially many millions within a single flock. Their migration was once one of nature's great spectacles. Sadly, the passenger pigeon's existence came to an end on the 1st of September 1914. Okay, we have here in 17 mention of the exact point at which a particular species became extinct, and we have here says came to an end. The passenger pigeon's existence came to an end on the 1st of September 1914. So 17 will be A. Okay, let's go on. When the last living specimen died at Cincinnati Zoo, geneticist Ben Novak is lead researcher on an ambitious project which now aims to bring the bird back to life through a process known as de-extinction. Let's go on and I will start answering. The basic premise involves using cloning technology to turn the DNA of extinct animals into a fertilized embryo, which is carried by the nearest relative still in existence. In this case, the abundant band-tailed pigeon, before being born as a living breathing animal, passenger pigeons are one of the pioneering species in this field, but they are far from the only ones on which this cutting-edge technology is being trialed. Okay, 15 says explanation of a way reproducing an extinct animal using the DNA of only that species. And here Novak says now aims to bring the bird back to life through a process known as de-extinction. So 15 is A. So we have 15 and 17 are A. Okay, if we go to questions 23 to 26, we have Novak, Ben Novak, A, Ben Novak, list of people. So let's see, 23, 24, 25, and 26. Which one talks about Novak? 25 says a species brought back from extinction could have an important beneficial impact on the vegetation of its habitat. No. We have reintroducing. No. 24, it's important to concentrate. No. 26, our current efforts. No. So we don't have any answers yet from 23 to 26. We just have 15 and 17 are A for the reasons I mentioned. Paragraph B says, in Australia, the thylacine, more commonly known as the Tasmanian tiger, is another extinct creature which genetic scientists are striving to bring back to life. There is no carnivore now in Tasmania that fills the niche which thylacines once occupied, explains Michael Archer of the University of New South Wales. He points out that in the decades since the thylacine went extinct, there has been a spread in a dangerously debilitating facial tumor syndrome which threatens the existence of the Tasmanian devils. Well, 23 says reintroducing an extinct species to its original habitat could improve the health of a particular species living there. Okay, thylacines would have prevented the spread because they would have killed significant numbers of Tasmanian devils. If that contagious cancer had popped up previously, it would have burned out in whatever region it started. So we have 23B, Michael Archer, because what he's telling is that reintroducing an extinct species to its original habitat could improve the health of a particular species living there. And this is what I have just read, because it says there has been a spread in a dangerously debilitating facial tumor syndrome which threatens the existence of the Tasmanian devils, the island's other notorious resident. Thylacine would have prevented this spread because they would have killed significant numbers of Tasmanian devils. If that contagious cancer had popped up previously, it would have burnt out in whatever region it started. The return of thylacines to Tasmania could help to ensure that devils are never again subjected to risks of this kind. So 23 will be B, Michael Archer. Let's go on. C. If extinct species can be brought back to life, can humanity begin to correct the damage it has caused to the natural world over the past few millennia? The idea of the extinction is that we can reserve this process, bringing species that no longer exist back to life, says Beth Shapiro of University of California, Santa Cruz's Genomics Institute. I don't think that we can do this. There is no way to bring back something that is 100% identical to a species that went extinct a long time ago. 26 says, our current efforts at preserving biodiversity are insufficient. and he says, I don't think that we can do this. There is no way to bring back something that is 100% identical to a species that went extinct a long time ago. So the answer of a 26 will be C, Beth Shapiro, because he says, I don't think so, and here it says we are insufficient, we are not sufficient. Okay, so that's the answer. Let's go on. D. This complicated process and the questionable outcome begs the question: what's the actual point of this technology? For us, the goal has always been replacing the extinct species with a suitable replacement, explains Novak. So we are back to Novak, and we will see the questions of this one. When it comes to breeding, band-tailed pigeons scatter and make maybe 1 or 2 nests per hectare, whereas passenger pigeons were very social and would make 10,000 or more nests in 1 hectare. Since the disappearance of this key species, ecosystems in the eastern US have suffered, as the lack of disturbance caused by thousands of passenger pigeons wrecking trees and branches means there has been minimal need for regrowth. So let us see here. 25 says, a species brought back from extinction could have an important beneficial impact on the vegetation of its habitat. Yes, this is what Novak says. This has left us stagnant and therefore unwelcoming to the plants and animals which evolved to help regenerate the forest after a disturbance. According to Novak, a hybridized band-tailed pigeon with the added nesting habits of passenger pigeon could, in theory, re-establish that forest disturbance. And this is 25. A species brought back from extinction could have an important beneficial impact on the vegetation of its habitat. And this is what I have just read. According to Novak, a hybridized band-tailed pigeon with the added nesting habits of a passenger pigeon could, in theory, establish that forest disturbance. Okay, so we will go back to question 14 to 17. 16 says, reference to a habitat has suffered following the extinction of a species. Yes, because he says a passenger pigeon made that disturbance in habitats. Okay, so 16 will be D and 25 will be A. Now let's go on to F. Another popular candidate for this technology is the woolly mammoth. George Church, professor at Harvard Medical School and leader of the woolly mammoth revival project, has been focusing on cold resistance, the main way in which the extinct woolly mammoth and its nearest living relative, the Asian elephant, differ, by pinpointing which genetic traits made it possible for mammoths to survive the icy climate of the tundra. The project's goal is to return mammoths, or a mammoth-like species, to the area. My highest priority would be preserving the endangered Asian elephant, says Church, expanding their range to the huge ecosystem of the tundra. Necessary adaptations would include smaller ears, thick hair, and extra insulating fat, all for the purpose of reducing heat loss in the tundra, and all traits found in the now extinct woolly mammoth. This repopulation of the tundra and boreal forests of Eurasia and North America with large mammals could also be a useful factor in reducing carbon emissions. Oh, we still have 24. It's important to concentrate on the causes of an animal's extinction. We still have this one needs to be answered. Let's see. While the prospect of bringing extinct animals back to life might capture imagination, it's of course far easier to try to save an existing species which is merely threatened with extinction. Many of the technologies that people have in mind when they think about the extinction can be used as a form of genetic rescue, explains Shapiro. She prefers to focus the debate on how this emerging technology could be used to fully understand why various species went extinct in the first place, and therefore how we could use it to make genetic modifications which could prevent mass extinctions in the future. 24 says it's important to concentrate on the causes of an animal's extinction. And Shapiro says she prefers to focus the debate on how this emerging technology could be used to fully understand why various species went extinct. So 24 will be C, Shapiro. And 14, a reference to how further disappearance of multiple species could be avoided. Why? Because Shapiro is asking to focus on why these various species went extinct. That means a reference to how further disappearance of multiple species could be avoided. Okay, now, so let's go back to the answers. 14 will be F, 15A, 16D, 17A. 23 will be Michael Archer, B. 24, C. Beth Shapiro. 25A, Ben Novak. 26C, Beth Shapiro. Now, we have finished those questions. Now, let's go to the other questions. Okay, now let's come to the exercise from 18 to 22. It says the Woolly Mammoth Revival Project. Fill in the gaps with no more than 2 words. That means 1 or 2 words. As I remember, I've read this in exercise E. Okay, it says the Woolly Mammoth Revival Project, Professor George Church and his team are trying to identify the gap. Another popular candidate for this technology is the woolly mammoth. George Church, professor at Harvard Medical School and leader of the Woolly Mammoth Revival Project, has been focusing on cold resistance, the main way in which the extinct woolly mammoth and its nearest living relative, the Asian elephant, differ, by pinpointing which genetic traits made it possible for mammoths to survive. It says in the question, Professor George Church and his team are trying to identify the gap which enabled mammoths to live in the tundra, which means the answer will be genetic traits, because in the passage says by pinpointing which genetic traits made it possible for mammoths to survive. That means to live. Okay, let's go on with the question. The findings could help preserve the mammoth's close relative, the endangered Asian elephant. According to Church, introducing Asian elephants to the tundra would involve certain physical adaptations to minimize gap. So let's look for minimize the climate of the tundra. The project's goal is to return mammoths or mammoth-like species to the area. My highest priority would be preserving the endangered Asian elephant, says Church, expanding their range to the huge ecosystem of the tundra. Necessary adaptations would include the smaller ears, thicker hair, and extra insulating fat, all for the purpose of reducing heat loss in the tundra, and he says would involve certain physical adaptations to minimize heat loss. Number 19 will be heat loss. Let's go on with the question. To survive the tundra, the species would need to have the mammoth-like features of thicker hair. I've read something about features and thicker hair. My highest priority would be preserving the endangered Asian elephant, says Judge, expanding their range to the huge ecosystem of the tundra. Necessary adaptations would include smaller ears, thicker hair. Okay, thicker hair. 20 will be ears because it says of a reduced size, which means it's smaller. Okay, and more. Let's see in the passage. Extra, which means more, insulating fat. So number 20 will be ears and 21 will be fat or insulating fat. Okay, let's see. Repopulating the tundra with mammoths or Asian elephant mammoth hybrids would also have an impact on the environment, which could help to reduce temperatures and decrease. Let's see, this repopulation of the tundra and boreal forests of Eurasia and North America with large mammals could also be useful factor in decrease carbon emissions. So number 22 will be carbon emissions. Okay, let's repeat the answers. Here we have 18 will be genetic traits, 19 heat loss, 20 ears, 21 insulating fat or fat, 22 carbon emissions or emissions. Please, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please write it in the comments. If you have any criticism, write it in the comments too. If you like this lecture, just press the button of subscribe. Thanks for watching. That was Mr. Haidar Qasir with you. Thank you.